Hello there and welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and it's my privilege to be your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now today we return to a topic which is often featured here on the channel, and that is men's footwear, your shoes and your boots, because these are the foundation items of your clothing. I tell you now that when I meet people, it is my shoes which often elicit the most positive comments. If you've got a pair of shoes that are clean, tidy, and maybe even shiny, people will notice and they will pass comment. And I have to say, it goes the other way too. When I meet people and I can see that they take a pride in their footwear, it's the first thing I will compliment about their clothing. So it's important that we look our very best, not least because our footwear is most likely the most expensive item amongst all the parts of our apparel that we're going to be wearing. You know, a good pair of shoes, as they say, should cost as much as the suit which you pair them with. So potentially we're talking hundreds of pounds for a good pair of leather shoes. And if we look after them well, not only are they going to look good, but they're also going to last longer, which is key to getting the most out of your sartorial investments. So today I have racked my brain. I've looked at all of the things which I've done over the years, and I'm going to bring you my top 10 tips to make sure that your shoes and boots look their best and perform their best for you over their lifetimes. Now the first tip I have for you is an oldie but a goldie, and it's something which I've been doing for many years since I was in the RAF, and that is a great tip to make your patent leather shoes or boots look their very best. Now patent leather, it's a bit of a misnomer really. It's not really leather. What we're looking at here is a leather boot which actually has a thin layer of plastic or other material, which is the patent, the shiny bit. And do you know what? A great way of keeping your patent leather in shape is really quite simple, and it's probably something you already have at home. Because if you apply wax polish to this, it's not going to work. It's not going to benefit the patent leather. It's not really leather because, you know, it doesn't absorb polish like a traditional piece of leather would. This will repel it. It is impervious to water because in essence it is some sort of plastic covering over leather. But the best way to bring your patent leather shoes back to life, you know, if you've been to an evening reception and perhaps you've spilled some beer or whatever, champagne over your boots and they've left some stains, classic thing, shaving cream. Simple, ordinary, everyday shaving cream. Give it a shake, a tiny little bit on the toe cap of your boot. That is all that you need. Then get yourself a rag and wipe it over. Just wipe it over like that. Keep wiping it until it got that beautiful shine. It gets rid of all the dust and detritus, and your patent leather shoe looks absolutely sparkling and splendid. Simple, easy, and absolutely cost-free, because you probably have some shaving cream in the cupboard under the sink. Now my next tip is also one which uses simple chemistry to affect a positive outcome on your shoe. Now let me take you to the winter time, as I am here in the UK. And of course local authorities, they place salt and other chemicals on the pavements, on the roads, to stop them icing up. As you walk around in your lovely leather footwear, bits of those chemicals, bits of that salt will get onto your footwear. Similarly, if you are somebody who your foot perspires heavily, salt, which is in the natural makeup of your body fluids, will sort of emigrate through the shoe, and it will cause those nasty white marks, the same as salt which is on the road will cause upon your footwear. And you know, you'll see those nasty sweat marks or salt marks or foxing as it's often caused, and it's a devil to get rid of because, you know, it's permeated through the leather. A really good way to get rid of that is quite simply, simple chemistry, to use vinegar. Now any form of vinegar will help, preferably not malt vinegar, which I have here, but the goal is you get your shoe, you get some of that vinegar and you get it on a little toothbrush and you use that to scrub into those white marks, the foxing marks of salt. The acidity in the vinegar will neutralize the salt within your shoe, and it will do away with those nasty white marks. No need to buy any complicated chemicals, just simply some vinegar and a toothbrush and you're on your way. Now, whilst we're talking about marks and troublesome stains on footwear, let's not forget that the good old suede shoe is very popular, and obviously many of us like to wear it at all times of the year, but particularly in the summertime. So if you get mud or other detritus on your footwear, how do you get rid of it? Well, for me, I've got a two-step process which I often adopt. In the first instance, a sturdy, simple brush is great. All I tend to do, and I do this for general maintenance of my suede shoes, just give them a good solid going over with the brush, almost as if I was trying to take polish off, but of course there's no polish, this is just a dry brush, and I'm using it to get rid of any rubbish or detritus on the shoe. The next thing you can do, if this is ineffective and you've got some really troublesome marks or stains on there, well, then you can step the game up. Let me show you. This is quite a strong and powerful brass brush. Now, these are very modestly priced. You can find them anywhere. I paid £3 for this brush a number of years ago. They never wear out. And it's the reason why it's made of brass is because that is a much firmer sort of brush to get rid of any stains, marks that you may have on the suede. And it works very well. It doesn't damage the suede. If you are concerned that it will, use it on the back of your shoe where if it did cause a problem, it wouldn't be visible and then you'd stop using it. But, you know, they shouldn't cause any problems. They're very effective at getting rid of any deep stains or marks or any bits of mud which have really got, you know, ingrained within the suede. The brass brush will shift pretty much anything. Now, my next tip doesn't involve any material or products whatsoever. It's simply advice which is worth consigning to the brain. And that is, and it's simple, don't forget that your feet swell as the day goes on. So this is really important if you're going out to buy a new pair of shoes. Now, if you go out in the morning, quite early in the day, your feet won't have had time to reach their largest possible sizes, or the blood makes the foot swell. So if you try on a pair of shoes early in the day and you find they're a little bit tight and constraining, bear in mind that were you to try those shoes on maybe in the late afternoon when your feet, you know, you've been walking around and they're at their largest, they're going to be uncomfortable. You know, in an extreme, your foot can gain half a size, maybe even a size extra as the day goes on through natural swelling. So always remember, if you're going to buy a new pair of shoes, try them on in the afternoon when your feet are at their optimal size. Okay, unfortunately you got that tip too late and you've already bought a pair of shoes in the morning, and now some weeks later you're finding the shoes feel too tight and uncomfortable as the day goes on. Is there anything that you can do? Well, yes, there is. You can try and stretch that shoe a little bit, and you can use something like this, which is a shoe stretcher. Let me show it to you. It does look like a sort of medieval torture implement, but basically you shove the angled bit, the shoe-shaped bit, inside your shoe, and you stretch it. That causes it to come apart, and it actually stretches the width of the shoe. But you know, you have to get these. These are not inexpensive. You can buy them from eBay and places like that. But you know, do you really want to buy one when you may only need it once? A viable alternative is again using chemistry in your favour when it comes to making your shoes fit perfectly. Now, an alternative is to get your shoe and to place a plastic bag inside of the shoe. The plastic bag has to be entirely waterproof because you're going to pour water inside that plastic bag and then tighten it up. Put some sort of closure on that bag so that your shoe is in effect filled with a plastic bag full of water. Then we want to place that shoe with the plastic bag full of water inside it into the freezer at home. That water is going to freeze, and as a natural process, water expands as it freezes, and that will cause the shoe to also expand ever so slightly as that water freezes and gets bigger inside the shoe. It is a really effective and free and easy way of making your shoe fit that little bit better if you're finding it a little bit too tight. So an easy way to sort it out at home without buying any extra tools. Now, while we're talking about shoes and the freezer, let's give you my next tip. And again, simple chemistry, all right? Do you have a shoe, a training shoe or any sort of shoe which has become malodorous? You sniff it and it leaves a terrible stink. And the reason why that's happening is because as your foot perspires, it obviously leaves elements of your sweat within the shoe. That sweat, if left to dry or left to fester, will cause the bacteria which is in your sweat to break down and to smell terribly. And that is the malodorous sense that you get when you have an old pair of shoes. There are many ways that you can treat that unpleasant smell. Obviously, you can go to the shoe care shop and you can buy all sorts of sprays and potions that you can place into your shoe, which allegedly will reduce that stench. However, there is a simpler and absolutely certain way, utterly cost effective as well, which can cure that smell. And that is by doing away with that bacteria, killing it off, getting rid of it. How do you do it? Well, you get your shoes and quite simply, you place them into a plastic bag. Then you place your shoes inside the plastic bag into the freezer compartment of your refrigerator at home and leave them in there for 24 hours. Now, the only thing that's going to happen to your shoe is that all of the bacteria within the shoe are going to be frozen to death. In effect, this is a mass murder, all right? All of those millions of bacteria causing the smell in your shoe are going to be killed by the extreme cold, and when your shoe comes out, you then have a fresh smelling shoe which is devoid of any bacteria. Now, you can do that as many times as you like. You're not introducing unpleasant or damaging chemicals or anything else to your shoe by using any of these odor suppressants. Quite simply, put your shoe in the freezer when you need to, and you have a lovely, fresh smelling shoe all over again. Now, while we're on the subject of dealing with your malodorous footwear, a really good way to do away with that terrible smell is to use something as simple as an old tea bag, right? This is just a standard tea bag, which I have enjoyed a cup of tea or a pot of tea with my good lady wife. Get your tea bag, let it dry out, then place it inside your footwear. Now, all of those smells will be absorbed by those tea bags, which, because they've been used and dried, they're very absorbent, they're very thirsty. And as much as they would take on liquids, they will also absorb odors. So place that inside your shoe, just leave it there as long as you like, and it will draw in all of those awful smells that you really don't want hanging around your footwear. Again, it's absolutely cost effective, shouldn't cost you a penny, and it'll work wonders every time. Now, my next tip is all around new shoes. Have you ever bought a pair of shoes and for no explicable reason at all, they make a funny squeaking sound as you walk around? It's really annoying. You feel that it's drawing attention to you and you can't understand why it's happening. Well, squeaking is friction, all right? Those new shoes, all the components haven't settled down and found their place yet. So you'll find that the insole is rubbing up against another part of the shoe and it's causing that friction. Now, as ever, as in all cases, the solution to friction is lubrication. And when it comes to shoes, you need to be careful. You can't pour oil into your shoes to lubricate those squeaky bits. What you can do is use another of the most common lubricants, and that is talcum powder. The reason why we place this into babies' nappies is to stop them, chafing against their nappies and other things like that. So the best thing to do, get your shoe, put some talcum powder inside the shoe, just a little, and then make sure that talcum powder moves around inside your shoe. Give it a good shake, make sure it gets into all the nooks and crannies. And that will be the lubrication that you need to stop your annoying squeaky shoe. Now, whilst I'm holding this lovely leather training shoe, which is white in colour, I'm going to address one of the issues which is a major problem with this type of shoe. keeping them looking lovely and white, because they always look good when they're new, but once that white goes off a little, they're far less attractive. What do I find is the best way to keep my white training shoes looking their best? Well, the same thing I use to keep other parts of my body looking white, and that is good old-fashioned toothpaste. And actually, the type of toothpaste which is specially formulated for keeping your teeth white is also excellent for keeping your leather training shoes white. Quite simply, get a little bit of the toothpaste on your shoe, get yourself an old toothbrush and scrub it in there. Now don't forget, toothpaste is a very mild abrasive, right? That's how it keeps your teeth clean and lovely and white. So if you get that on any stubborn marks or any stains on your leather footwear, it should really help in bringing them back to white and keeping them sparkly and clean, just like the Nashers. Okay chaps, we are really rattling through these footwear tips today, and the next one is another super cost-effective absolute solution to a problem we all have, and that is blisters. You know, you might have bought a new pair of shoes. You might walk longer than you would normally in your ordinary shoes, and you find yourself suffering with a blister. Well, a blister, like so many things when it comes to footwear, is caused by friction. Friction between your foot and the shoe. And as is often the case, the way to deal with a friction issue is to put something between you and the thing which is causing the problem. Reduce the friction. Lubrication, in some cases, can take many forms. Now, a great way of helping is to use normal, ordinary antiperspirant, the sort of thing that you would typically put under your arms. But if you get your foot, the bare bit of skin which is being caused problems by your shoe, which can be forming blisters, just rub this antiperspirant over your foot. Now the antiperspirant will cause a layer to form of the protective chemicals within this product, the antiperspirant, and that will act as yet another barrier between your skin and the thing which is causing the problem with the friction, your shoe, sock or whatever. So just an extra layer of antiperspirant can really help your foot in its fight to stay blister free. Okay gentlemen, we've really rattled through those 10 footwear hacks, but now I've got one more, a bonus for you. And it's, again, doesn't cost very much, and it can make the world of difference to the way that your footwear looks. And that is simply by changing the laces. Now let me get for you that pair of suede brogues that you saw earlier. Let me bring them a little closer. And as you can see, the simple act of changing the colour of my shoelaces makes these shoes look totally different. Now, when they came originally, the laces were a dark brown, exactly the same colour as the suede. They were very distinguished, they were very formal. But as I tend to wear these shoes in the summertime, I look for a little bit of frivolity, a little bit of casuality, and a great way of injecting a bit of your personal style is quite simply to change the colour of your laces. Now in this case, as you can see, I have simply changed the laces to an oatmeal colour, which goes very well with the shoe, yet it brings the level of formality definitely down a great deal. Now the other shoe, its friend here, as you can see, I've changed it for a red shoelace, and that again totally alters the perspective of the shoe, makes it look a little cheeky, a little casual, and perfect for wearing in situations where formality is not that important. Again, all you got to do is change the laces. Only costs a few pounds. You can have as many different colours as you like for any of the accessories within your outfit, and it makes a heck of a difference. Well chaps, I hope you've enjoyed this top 10 shoe hacks video, which should help you look even more sartorially well connected as you cut a dash in your fine footwear through life. If you have, I would encourage you to give us a thumbs up to show that you've enjoyed this content. And if you've enjoyed it, well, why not become a subscriber, click the red button. And if you'd like to practically help me make even better content in the future, you can buy me a coffee. If you look in the show notes below, there's a link to the Buy Me a Coffee website, and I would be delighted to share a coffee with you there. So, until the next time, take care of yourselves, look good on those beautifully manicured shoes and boots, and I will see you again very soon.